9:35 p.m. and I'm calling the Rules and Administration Committee to order. Since we're virtual, I'm going to ask Ms. Johnson to take the roll call.
Chair Dietzick.
Present.
Vice Chair Rest.
Present.
Lead Johnson.
Present.
Senator Champion.
Present.
Senator Eichhorn. Senator Eichhorn. I see you and I see you.
I'm here.
Yeah, no, now I can hear you. Senator Frantz.
Here.
Senator Limmer.
I'm here.
Senator Marty.
Present.
Senator Miller.
Here.
Senator Murphy.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Thank you, members. The only item on our agenda today is House File 670. Yesterday, Senator Johnson objected to the committee report under Senate Rule 21. Senator Johnson, please share why you made the objection.
Well, thank you, Senator Dietzick, and good morning, everybody. It is good to see you again. It was a short evening, but I figure we'll have a few of those, so it's good to see you again. There are a few issues within the bill itself, House File 670, that we've got some real concerns about and wanted to take some time and rules today to just address those. Hopefully, Senator Pappas can talk to a few of these issues that we have. So, just kind of at a high level here, let's look at that bill. This is going to be considered our capital improvement bill for the session, the way it appears. And so within a capital improvement bill, what typically I think Minnesotans think about is capital infrastructure, the roads, the bridges, things that are you can use that the cash flows really line up with the depreciation on an asset. If you think about a road, as that's depreciating, it's being used by cars, by Minnesotans, across the state. So it really makes sense to be putting money into those sorts of capital improvement projects. Unfortunately, when you look at this particular bill, one could get confused whether it is a jobs bill or a capital improvement bill. Within this particular bill, House File 670, we find over $300 million worth of nonprofit asks. Now, I understand, these nonprofits, maybe some of them have some very good outcomes. Some of them have some great missions within them. And I'm not here to argue whether those individual organizations have a good mission and accomplish what they want to accomplish for the state. However, whether that is appropriate for this bill or not, I think is something that this committee really needs to look at. We spent nearly $1 billion within the jobs bill the other day, really focusing on the nonprofit community, mostly in the metro, but some across the state as well. And so when we see an additional $300 million out of a bill that's $1.3 billion, really takes the buying capacity for the capital infrastructure that we need so desperately across the state out of our hands. In addition to that, if you think about agency needs, the agencies came to us, we had an $880 million agency ask. And a lot of that stuff has been removed in favor of these nonprofits. And so, our universities clearly need some money for upkeep. We have other institutions across the state that have really been looking for that investment in it. So I really want to take some time and dig into this bill today and see what we can be doing, what changes we can be making so we can focus again on the needs, our capital improvement needs going forward. So, I would hope that Senator Pappas could address a couple of questions, like within the 54 or so groups within there, have all of those groups been vetted? I wasn't part of the bonding committee hearings, but I know there's a lot of groups in here. And so I haven't been able to see whether these have been vetted for their trustworthiness, whether they're paying taxes, the capability even to deliver on their projects. And so, Senator Dietzick, could we have Senator Pappas please address some of those real concerns that we have from the Republican caucus?
Thank you, Senator Johnson. Senator Pappas, can you talk about the 54 groups being vetted and their projects. And I believe some of those projects are for capital needs. If you could get into that, that would also be helpful. Thank you.
Yes, Madam Chair and Senator Johnson, they're all capital needs and they've all been thoroughly vetted. We require a MMB form that is filled out that supplies all the information that MMB requests on all the bonding projects. We are very thorough with that. We check it out. They all have to be legitimate nonprofits. I even sometimes check their website to see who their board members are and who their staff is. And they're very well known in the community. We lean toward the more established nonprofits that have been around providing services for many years. And I understand that this is new for capital investment, but I think that the bills we're trying to make it a statewide bill. And in the past, they've been very slanted toward rural Minnesota, and our urban and regional legislators feel like their local communities also have needs. So the local communities have been requesting help with roads and wastewater, of course, as you know, and health centers. So we've been trying to help them out. And then the nonprofits provide a lot of essential services. We have some that are homeless shelters, some that are health centers that service various communities, minority communities in the cities. So they, like I said, they are thoroughly vetted. And I actually told Senator Housley the same. I said, create your own form based on the MMB form. So when your members have projects, that you make sure they fill out and provide all that information. Then in addition, MMB also has a process that they require. And when they go through deed, they also they develop a contract with the nonprofit. The other rules are that I try not to do more than half the cost of the project. So they have to come up with local money. They have to have some skin in the game. And also the state is the last dollar in. So they have to provide we have to know the full cost of the project. And then the state only provides dollars on a reimbursable basis. So they have to present receipts that show how they spent the money. And if it says pre-design design in the legislation, it has to be for pre-design and design. We're working very closely with MMB on the language to make sure it's accurate.
All right, thank you, Senator Pappas. Senator Johnson, follow up.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So, yes, just a couple other things we're looking at here too as well. So I understand. So these are going to be going to the nonprofits. It's going to be for capital improvement on those nonprofits.
They don't go directly. They go through a state agency.
So who ends up with the ownership of, now we're using state dollars for capital improvement for nonprofit organizations? Will this show up on the nonprofits' balance sheets at that point?
Oh, yes, I would assume so. Because they, in their balance sheets, they have to show where their income is coming from, what their expenses are, for their own boards or their own audits. They can retain ownership because it's cash. If it's bonding dollars, it has to be publicly owned by a city or county or the state.
So, Madam Chair.
Yes, Senator Johnson.
And Senator Pappas. So now what we're doing with our capital improvement bill is doing a major wealth transfer from the state of Minnesota to nonprofit organizations outside of our state ownership. So it won't be on our state balance sheet anymore. It'll be on other groups, special interests, organizations outside of the state's control. And so instead of being roads and bridges, water infrastructure, wastewater infrastructure, flood mitigation, the things that all generations of Minnesotans are going to be using, that has traditionally been what we do. Now we're moving outside that model into a model of social capital. That's going to be the new model going forward, where the bills are going to be split and wealth is going to be transferred from Minnesotans to these other organizations outside of Minnesota's control. So I think that's something that we need to be looking at and addressing. Because when we had a committee here just a few days ago, one of the things that our Republican members brought forward were a series of amendments for needs across the state, things that I think Minnesotans think about when they think about capital improvement. Things like roads, road safety, water infrastructure. These are all critical pieces for the safety of our state, right? For the long-term safety, not just of us, but our children and our grandchildren going forward. That was a real investment that people really think about. I want to shift a little bit to another point that we had too as well. And this was a comment that you made, Senator Pappas, during the Finance Committee itself. And I'm going to quote you on this one too. And it says, the speaker increased, Representative Erdahl appealed to the speaker to fund these projects that had to cut because we got squeezed in terms of our target. And she raised our target by $60 million to fund projects for Republicans in the House who voted for the bonding bill. So a couple of issues that I have there is, as well, is number one, since when are we been coordinating with the speaker, and she's the one that has control over our target? This is the Senate side, and so I would assume that any sort of deal, whatever, would have to involve our majority leader, Senator Dietzich. And so to see that was very disheartening. Can you explain exactly why Senator or Representative Portman is controlling the targets that we're abiding by right now?
I can answer that. We had joint targets. And so she contacted me and the leaders and said the leadership team and said that they have requested it. They voted for the binding bill before. And so she did it. So I signed off on it. So we agreed to increase that. I'll also want to comment on back to your other question. So we have given money. It hasn't been all state assets in past bonding bills. It also has been money to nonprofits and local authorities, I believe, in this bill. And if I remember right, in one of the bonding bills, there was money for St. Stephen's Shelter. And so that bill, again, it's a nonprofit. It's been vetted. It is for shelters. We put more money in the housing bill this year. And so hopefully that will help build more housing. So we don't need as many shelters, but unfortunately we need shelters. And so that is something that we're looking for. I also want to point out Rule 21 procedures in the Rules Committee that explain the bills, which the committee will be dealing with, and remind the committee that jurisdiction of the Rules Committee at this hearing is limited to the referral of the bill recommended in the committee that was subject to the Rule 21. So this is about the referral, not necessarily the merits of the bill. So the discussion is limited to, again, the jurisdictions of the committee and not the merits of the bills. And so I think we are getting into the merits of the bills. And I think that a lot of that came up in the Capital Investment Committee and the Finance Committee, but under a Rule 21 objection, it is about the referral of the bill. And so do you have any concerns or questions about the referral of this bill, Senator Johnson?
And thank you, Senator Dietzich. I appreciate that comment and redirection on this as well. I think in order to understand where we need to be redirecting this particular bill, though, I think it's important to understand the issues that we have. And then we know what committee would the appropriate jurisdiction to address those certain issues. So I think we've seen that before with other bills as well, talk about the issues that we have within the bill. And that would offer us the opportunity then at that point to figure out which committee that it should be re-referred to. So I won't get into a ton of detail, but there's just a couple other points that I think are necessary before we can make that determination of whether this is appropriate or not to re-refer it. So that was just, so it is about, you mentioned that there is, before we've done to nonprofits, we've done some of those things, which I think have been kind of exceptions. This has been a particularly large ask, but we have HHS, we have HS, so that deal a lot with different organizations as well. We've got the Jobs Committee. So this one, if you look at a capital investment bill, I think back to your point, Senator Dietzich, I think those were outliers. This is the rule within this bill for the nonprofits, which has changed the trajectory of what capital improvement bills look like at that point. So there are a number of other issues within this particular bill, but I think at this point, this is really what bothers me is that we are not moving forward with this bill in a way that should just be addressing the capital needs of our state. And so that's the Rule 21. We should take this back to the Finance Committee, take out a number of these issues, make sure that we put in the needs for capital improvement across the state and our wastewater infrastructure, our water infrastructure, flood mitigation, the things that Minnesotans expect us to be doing going forward, instead of a wealth transfer over to nonprofits that should be taken care of in other bills and other targets. So that's what I'm objecting to.
Thank you, Senator Johnson. And I will again state that I think shelter is a state need, and we have money to help build more shelters. And unfortunately, a lot of the shelter work is left on nonprofits and churches across the state, because it just makes more sense to utilize assets already there and partner with them as we work to help people that are in need of housing. And so, Senator Johnson, I believe you heard that you would want to refer this back to the Finance Committee. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. Senator Marty, as the Chair of Finance Committee, do you have any comments on that?
I support moving the bill as it was. I think we had the chance to have the debate. I think Senator Pappas presented well. We had a good discussion, a lengthy discussion.
Thank you, Senator Marty. Senator Limmer.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I know that we have occasionally given money to nonprofit organizations, but quite honestly, that's been a very rare occurrence. The use of bonding, the use of obligating taxpayers to the payment and the debt service should be on assets that the state owns or wants to develop. Quite honestly, I think although we should keep an option open, it should be used rarely for non-state assets. And quite honestly, I think this should have a full vetting in the Finance Committee. I think it's appropriate to be there. And this particular bonding proposal is going a little bit into new territory by expanding into a larger number of nonprofit projects. Question of ownership: what if there is capital assets? Who owns them at the end of that payment period? Who pays for them? Is it exclusively the nonprofit participants, or are the taxpayers on the hook for that? These are all things that should be discussed in a Finance Committee. Quite honestly, I don't know if that has been properly vetted in that manner. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Senator Limmer. Any other questions, members? So,
Senator Disick, I just want to make sure that I say that I did hear Senator Limmer say that this should be sent back to finance for a proper vetting. This bill has been in finance. This bill was heard in finance. So I'm not certain what my good friend Senator Limmer is saying, but it was there already. So I just wanted to make sure that point was raised. And that is not to suggest how I feel one way or the other, but I'm just saying that it was there already.
thank you, Senator Champion. Is that Senator Limmer's hand back up, and then Senator Frantz?
Thank you, Madam Chair. This may have had a vetting in the Finance Committee. Tell me, for those who are there, who's responsible for the debt payment service that a nonprofit is requesting?
Senator Marty or Senator Pappas, would you like to answer that question?
And was that discussed in the Finance Committee?
Senator Pappas?
Yes, when you're talking about debt service, what do you mean? These are not loans, they're grants to nonprofits. But that MMB has very strict rules. For example, if they fail to operate, then they would be in default and they would have to repay the money.
And this is a cash bill, correct, Senator Pappas? And so
Yes,
there's
it's a
not
cash
service
bill,
in it.
right? So we're not
It's not
borrowing
GO
money.
bonds. Mhm.
Right, it's cash.
So, Madam Chair,
Senator Limmer?
Madam Chair, in the event that these are cash outlet or cash grants, is there an obligation for payment to be made back to the state? Or is this a pure grant that doesn't require a payback?
Senator Pappas.
It's a grant. It doesn't require payback. It just, if they were to sell the facility, then they would have to reimburse the state.
I see. Well, that seems to double down my argument even more. Giving money to nonprofit organizations. Some might be even brand new. Some might have experience. Some might be experienced participants, but under a different name. Quite honestly, I think bonding and cash outlays should be given to state assets first. And if there's a unique purpose for them, and unique should be also use the word rare, then they could be used. But this seems to be going in a different direction and a much more inclusive one that may set a pattern into the future where taxpayer obligation will be used for something other than a non-government purpose. This is new territory. I think this needs to go back to finance for a full discussion.
Thank you, Senator Limmer. Senator French.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, members. As a member of the Finance Committee, I can assure you that Senator Pappas, when she presented the bill, had a thorough round of questions on the inclusion of the nonprofits, which I thought she did quite well in answering. And as to the choices being made about the priorities Senator Pappas has chosen to make with the bill, I think she had a great opportunity to explain those priorities and why she felt this bill was the best one to go forward. And that hearing went till about 10:45 at night. So I'm assuming my fellow members of the Finance Committee would agree it got a thorough vetting in finance already. And for that reason, Madam Chair, I think we should put this to the floor. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator French. Senator Rust.
Chair, could you provide the correct language for a motion to overcome the Rule 21 objection and send this bill to the floor?
Thank you, Senator Rust. The motion, if you would like to make the motion, I see no other hands up. Senator Rust, will you move at the committee report for House
Madam
File
Chair.
670? Oh, Senator Johnson.
Madam Chair, could I just get the last word in here before we move to that motion?
Yep. Thank you, Senator Johnson.
Okay, thank you. Sorry about that.
Sorry.
There was other speakers.
It's okay.
So, no, I wanted to speak to that. One thing that I haven't seen, Senator Pappas, and if you could show me that on the floor today, or have somebody send an email, send that language where you stated that the state must be repaid on the assets if they are sold by a nonprofit. I would like to see that language as well. And then just for the record too, as well, I want to state that we had a $2.3 billion target on the bonding capital improvement area as well. That was a cash target that was there. This bill has $1.3 billion of projects that's going to leave $990 million in that target as well. We have offered a number of different solutions to move forward with a geo bonding bill and a cash bill going forward. You know, a couple of things that we didn't get and we realized that we weren't was the full elimination of Social Security tax. We tried to move $1 billion into the tax target, so we didn't have to have tax increases on Minnesota in the tax target. There was we tried $800 million in rebate checks to Minnesotans, trying to get that rebate back. Tried to put $200 million in long-term care. Also wanted to invest $200 million into roads and bridges, local roads and bridges across the state, trying to figure out a way that we could balance a geo bonding bill and a cash bill with the campaign promises that we have made from both the Democrat and Republican sides, bipartisan way to move this thing forward. We've been consistently shut down over and over and over again. And we've worked well with Senator Dietzich. I feel like there's other players that have their fingers involved with this that do not want to take care of the needs of Minnesotans the way that we should be. It's been incredibly frustrating. There has not been any sort of back and forth negotiation like you'd find in a normal session. So this has been a very poor session for bonding, trying to address those capital needs. And this is the product we're ending up with now. which is the wealth transfer to nonprofits and not taking care of the needs of Minnesota. So that's why we rule 21. This needs to go back, whether it's finance or capital investment, to address those issues that we have and make sure we get this right. So that is my objection, and I hope we can move this back to Finance Committee. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Senator Johnson. I will acknowledge that we have had some short conversations on bonding, sometimes between the two of us, sometimes between the four leaders, because I do agree it would be good to get to a GO bond that is a joint project. In the offers that we have had, we have consistently said that we do not want any bonding bills tied to the tax bill, and the offers have always included additional money for tax relief, and we wanted that separate. We did agree to put in 200 million more for nursing home needs or local road and bridges needs with passing these bills. And unfortunately, in our view, we believe that the passage of a GO bond kept being tied to a tax bond and a tax bill, and we did not agree to that. I also will comment that I'll use the St. Stephen's project as an example. I think that group is meeting the needs of the state because unfortunately we do have a lot of unhoused people here, and they are helping provide a resource in partnership with the state to help provide services to those people that are unhoused, to help them find housing and get on a path for stability. So that is my comment on that. And I don't want to say there's time left, but again, we're disappointed that there was not agreement to do a GO bond bill that requires a supermajority. We brought it up on the floor before and didn't get the vote. So we are going this route because we think we haven't had a bonding bill since 2020, and there are needs across the state and that are being addressed in this bill that are shovel ready, have been vetted in before MMB has this process where they vet them. And so we think this bill is good to go. So thank you, Senator Johnson. And I'm going back to Senator Rust. Will you move that the committee report for House File 670 be adopted?
That's my motion.
Thank you,
Roll call.
Senator. Thank you. Roll call has been requested. Roll call granted. Thank you, Senator Limmer. Senator Rust moves that the committee report for House File 670 be adopted. Ms. Johnson, would you take the roll?
Chair Dietzick,
Yes.
Vice Chair Rest,
Yes.
Lee Johnson,
No.
Senator Champion,
Yes.
Senator Eichhorn,
No.
Senator Frantz,
Yes.
Senator Limmer,
No.
Senator Marty,
Yes.
Senator Miller,
No.
Senator Murphy.
Yes.
There are 6 ayes and 4 noes.
Thank you. The vote was 6 ayes and 4 noes. And so with that, the committee report is adopted. Thank you, members. That is all that we have. And so the committee report is adopted and it is back to the floor. Members, with that, we have no other business before us. And so thank you for the good discussion, and the Rules Committee is adjourned.